Heyo, and what is up, Sledge Nation? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight as we are about to bring the hammer down on an episode of Smackdown that was highlighted by a near 30-minute long Universal Championship match that had much bigger things at stake than just the Universal title. Daniel Bryan put his spot on SmackDown on the line for one last chance at the big dog, the head of the table, the Tribal Chiefs Universal Championship. Was he able to do it? Is Daniel Bryan still part of the SmackDown roster? Stick around and find out, because we are going to talk about it and so much more, including everything wrong with what pretty much amounts to a pretty standard episode of SmackDown, with the one exception being the great main event that we got tonight. So let's do it like nobody else does right here, right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown review and reaction show right here on Sledgehammer TV. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
It has been quite some time since there has been a main event on either show that has had the feeling of tonight's main event. The one caveat of Daniel Bryan's career pretty much hanging in the balance of this one final chance at the Universal Championship made this so much more than your standard main event. What did they do wrong with this? Not very much. I just wish they would have extended it a little more. Why this couldn't have made it to the pay-per-view, being the SmackDown main event for WrestleMania Backlash. I don't understand why it had to be done on just a random SmackDown just to get it over with. But other than that, Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns has been the highlight of the year. And sure, Edge was around and had to be involved in the whole WrestleMania main event. He hasn't been around since WrestleMania, and the last few weeks has proven just how much he wasn't actually needed. And that WrestleMania could have been the story of Roman versus Daniel Bryan, and it would have been just fine without Edge. No disrespect to the Rated R Superstar. I was happy to have him on board, but you definitely see that he was just added for effect, I guess, or just to give him his last WrestleMania main event, which is fine. It was good for what it was, but when you see the emotion and the drama that unfolded in what happened here tonight, it was great. It's one of those things that make you happy to watch pro wrestling. It's what wrestling is all about. It's not just about having 5-star matches and doing flips and constant V-triggers and all kinds of gymnastic type movements. And it's not about flips or punches or what you do. It's about telling a captivating story. And they definitely were able to do that tonight with the main event. It was spectacular. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns were almost made for each other. You kind of wish, after watching what we got tonight, that they would have went with this a couple of years ago. When Daniel Bryan first came back into the fold, if you would have had this different dynamic for Roman, if he would have made that heel turn much sooner, we could have had this for years. And it would have been just as good, I think. Just shows you in hindsight how stupid they were to wait so long. When it turns out this good, you'll wish it would have been there the whole time. The rest of the show, however, is your typical same old suck down type of episode. Not because of the lack of pro wrestling, because we had some very decent in-ring action. We had some fun spots and some very typical and repetitive type matches. And I will say this about the SmackDown announce team: Pat McAfee is better than this Adnan guy on SmackDown. He sounds much more on Raw, rather. He sounds much more genuine, and he's very hype. And he's almost, I think, trying to channel his inner Mauro Ranallo. You often see him standing up at the announce desk. The guy's just into it, and I appreciate the enthusiasm, and it makes the broadcast not so cringy, I guess. It's okay. He's got some work to do, but it's far and away above what this other new guy's brought to Monday Night Raw, which is one of the things that I want to continue to forget. We didn't do a review because it just made me depressed. I didn't even want to talk about it. It was so bad, and I just wanted to forget about it and get through the next one, hopefully without almost taking this hammer and bashing my own skull in. But we'll save that for Monday. Right now, let's talk about the obvious mistakes with this show. Sure, it started out in a pretty good direction as we had Bianca Belair come out, the new women's champion, coming out to do the opening segment, which I kind of assumed would be interrupted by Bayley with a ding-dong hello sort of a situation here, but no, it was infinitely worse because the WWE has this disease or just has this affinity to attach the women's championship to something going on with some other titles. Normally it's the women's tag team division, but that's so terrible and involved in its own different little vortex of suckitude that they didn't have time to stick Bianca with them. They went and stuck her into this feud with the Dirty Dogs, because the Dirty Dogs are the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and that's the reasoning, I guess, that they're going to go with to justify having the Street Profits go against them for the championships for the 17,000th time in the last 3 months. I'm just not interested in seeing these two teams in the ring again. We've seen the rise of the family Mysterio, right? They keep pushing the whole father-son, maybe might be the first ever in history tag team champion, father-son, giant baby man-son, and Tiny Dad will make history and be the first time ever. And it's obvious that that's the direction they're going. Why do we have to take a sidestep and continue down the road we've already been on? The Street Profits have lost like the last 3 times they've gone for this championship, on WrestleMania, SmackDown, and every chance that they've had before then and any other chance in between. I don't want to see this anymore. But, they have no idea what to do with the women's champion. She's actually in a marriage, real-life marriage, with Montez Ford, so we might as well just continue doing that, and we'll throw in a 6-person tag team match, a mixed intergender tag team match, but, the women have to fight the women and the men have to fight the men, and we'll just team up Bayley with the Dirty Dogs because, they had a little bit of an interaction last week. Doesn't mean that they're instant friends or anything like that, but, at least they were on screen together, and you kind of could feel this one coming. But after multiple 6-person matches on Monday, why did we have to have another one to open the show? The lack of creativity shines on, and I'm hesitant to give this a poop hammer strictly because Bianca Belair was involved in this scenario. We're going down the road of Bianca versus Bayley. Sasha Banks has vanished off the face of the earth. So has half of the women's roster. Apparently, Carmella is gone, and Naomi is on the other show now, right? I don't even know who goes where anymore. It doesn't matter, no. But there's nobody even around, so I guess this is what we're going to get. This has the potential to be good. This is obviously leading towards a match between Bayley and Bianca at Backlash. But why we had to sidebag them with the trash of the tag team division and continue to see the same shit here over and over instead of getting Rude and Ziggler over as the Dirty Dogs a little bit more on a different path, at least in the trajectory of what you're apparently trying to do, which is not give a shot to the Alpha Academy, but give a shot to Tiny Dad and Giant Baby Man Son. So, we'll see what happens there. Am I interested as of right now? No. I don't want to see the Street Profits versus this team ever again. I don't care. And the other interesting thing about this match is that each team featured a champion, right? You had Bianca Belair, the women's champion, on one side with the Street Profits, and then you had Bayley on the other side with the tag team champions, the Dirty Dogs. So no matter who wins, a champion is going to lose. And of course, to make it worse, they actually had the tag team champions be the ones who were pinned and lost this match, giving the win to Bianca and the Street Profits, which is great for Bianca. I guess good for the Street Profits. Is this going to get them another tag team championship match? I don't care. I really, really don't. I cared as much about this as I did about everybody's opinion of who was going to win the championship for SmackDown tonight in the Universal title main event. We had to get everybody's opinion. We had to hear Seth Rollins' opinion. We had to hear what he had to think about it. We had to hear what everybody had to say. They filmed these little things. But Daniel Bryan was actually Seth Rollins' pick, which actually shocked me since he's got all this history with Roman. And they're both obviously the heels here. I thought they were going to easily make him side with Roman, but he pulled a 360 here. He said he thinks Daniel Bryan's going to get it. He wants Daniel Bryan to win the title, but he thinks he's a fool if he's going to give his first title shot to Cesaro, because Seth Rollins thinks it's going to be him getting the first title shot if Daniel Bryan is victorious tonight. We had many of these little vignettes throughout the night. I guess it was an interesting thing to do. They wanted to put as much focus on this match as they could, especially being that it was Daniel Bryan's possible last match ever on SmackDown. If he loses, he's banished. Is that going to stick? I don't know. Charlotte Flair was suspended for 6 days and ended up back on the show, so who knows what they're going to do. We'll have to wait and see. But the show goes into the obvious abyss of the Women's Tag Team Championships, and I'm already struggling to keep my eyes open just talking about it. I have to wipe the tiredness from my eyes from just talking about it, because my God, how many times are we going to see this same old shit with the tag team championships? And like I said last week, why do they have to be on every show? They had their segment this week on Monday Night Raw. Why do we have to have Nia Jax here tonight doing another stupid promo with stupid Reginald in a stupid suit, and Shayna Baszler sitting there just totally stuck in this ridiculous angle that's doing nothing for her anymore, just so that they can get beaten up prior to their match tonight by the babyface team of Natty and Tamina. Are they babyface? Are they heel? I don't know, but this is a very heel thing to do, attacking the champions prior to the match that you are about to have with said champions. But of course, WWE being what it is will make the baby faces do it, because it doesn't matter. Everything's a gray area, especially when you're looking at a script that's about as good to read as a smudge. You read this script, it just probably looks like a smudge of shit just on the paper, and you're just like, oh yeah, fine, whatever, I can't read it, I don't understand what it says, but we can go with it, even though we've probably seen it 100 times already, as we have another tag team matchup between Natalya and Tamina versus the tag team champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And again, the champions lose. Okay, Tamina's getting this little bit of a push. Tamina hits the Superfly Splash on Shayna Baszler to win this matchup. And this is only leading to the championship matchup eventually, the rematch at WrestleMania Backlash, where they're obviously going to get a win. What did we talk about last week? We said they do the same thing with the champions over and over. They lose in singles matches. They'll lose in a tag team match that's not for the title. But then when it comes to the title match, they're going to find a way to beat whatever team it is that they're feuding with. And the fact that we are still seeing Nia Jax and Tamina be that team for some reason just makes this repetitive and boring. It's about as exciting as what they're doing on Monday Night Raw with Dana and Mandy. And if you're wondering how exciting any of that is, it's not. It's not exciting at all. This is where the poop hammer falls. The consistent champions of the weekly poop hammer droppings. The WWE Women's Tag Team Division champions included. So tired of seeing this crap, man. Just really, really sucks the life right out of me. The same way Monday Night Raw just drained my wrestling soul dry to the point where I couldn't even muster up I could give zero shits about anything that happened, that I couldn't even muster up a thought or a comment sitting here for Monday Night Raw. So, what does that say about the women's tag team division if it's on that very same level? I just don't want to see it. I'm done with it. Let's move on. As SmackDown decided to move on, we have Booker T with his prediction. He was picking Roman Reigns. Then we had Shinsuke Nakamura talking about how he still has, his eyes set and his thoughts on Roman Reigns because Roman couldn't beat Shinsuke. And he picked Daniel Bryan. Then Kayla Braxton talked to Tiny Dad and his giant baby man son. They talked about becoming the first ever father-son tag team champions. And if that's what they're going to do, please let's just do it. Get the history made so we can do the eventual heel turn for Dominic when he beats the shit out of Tiny Dad, disbands the championship, disbands the team, and gets himself over because this, I'm so proud of my dad thing. It's like watching Oogie Doggy and little Doggy Daddy or whatever his name is, and they're just, oh, my dad, my dear old dad. This has always been a dream of mine, to be with my dad. And Ray's like, yeah, man, my son, I'm so happy to be with my son. Are we watching a Warner Brothers cartoon or are we watching pro wrestling? This wishy-washy bullshit is so crazy to me. And it's just cringy, man. It's like, ugh, all right, fine. Give them the belts. Let's get this over with. Make the history go in the wrestling history books, and let's do something interesting here. Much like they're doing with Aleister Black, as we got another reading from the Tales of the Dark Father, complete with the little weird vignettes. And this week we were talking about reality, and it told a story of people going through life and making all kinds of choices, but his father told him the truth, and there is something wrong with everyone else, and he wished he could give him the key to escape, but he chose not to give his son the key to escape into reality, I guess. I don't know, but I'm really into it, and I'm loving the artistic style of these vignettes that are illustrating the stories that he are telling. And the one thing that I have noticed in the 2 weeks, and let me know if you guys notice this as well, is it weird to me that the silhouette that they are using for the Dark Father figure is wearing an Undertaker hat? Is it just me? Is it a coincidence, or is this a subtle thing that people might be missing? This little image that's being shown in these vignettes, everything's very like shadow puppet looking, and there's no real details to it. But take a look again, and look from this point on when you see any of these Aleister Black vignettes. Tell me if you think that they're using the silhouette of the Undertaker here, and maybe it is coincidence, or are they trying to give us a hint about something that may be coming in the future? Because you never can say never when it comes to the Undertaker, especially maybe being a true final match in front of fans, maybe puts over Aleister Black at his very, very final WrestleMania. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm into it. I like this new direction they're going with Black. It's given his story a little backbone to it. A little bit of backstory doesn't hurt anybody. These things are unique, they're different, and it's only a matter of time before they ruin the shit out of it. It's the way they ruined the shit out of Bray Wyatt with his unique and different angle of the Fiend and just handed it to Alexa Bliss. Hopefully that's not done here with Aleister Black down the line, because we got, I think, something really good coming our way for somebody who's been grossly underutilized for so long. Talk about being grossly underutilized for so long. Big E's finally gotten his push, right? He was the Intercontinental Champion. He lost it to Apollo Crews, who has been doing some of the best work of his life in ring, and we are getting an Intercontinental Championship match tonight. So we had a pre-match promo by Big E talking about how he wants to get his baby back. He needs to become a 3-time Intercontinental Champion, and he's going out there, and while he's out there waiting to take on Apollo Crews to regain his championship, we got time to show the New Day giving their prediction for the Universal Championship, where they both, I think, picked Daniel Bryan. Then they did a whole recap of last week where Apollo Crews did Kevin Owens. All this while Big E standing there waiting for the champ to make it to the ring. Finally, they get locking up, and this was another very good match in the series of great matches that Apollo Crews has been having with Big E. The problem here is that the WWE schmozzed the ending. We didn't have a clean, clear finish, and I don't know how many more times we need to see Apollo Crews versus Big E. It has been very good, and the new extra added flavor of Commander Yabba Dabba Aziz gives it a little bit of a different flair and can allow it to go a little bit longer, but he did cause the disqualification tonight. Big E winning the matchup, but does not get the championship, as it doesn't change hands via disqualification, as we all know. But the interesting thing here, and where I'll maybe kind of give him a pass, is that based off of what happens last week with Kevin Owens losing thanks to the interference of Commander Yabba Dabba Aziz, he shows up tonight to attack the big man after the match, after Big E already gets the win and the DQ is called. Here comes Kevin Owens. He wants to get his revenge. Then out of nowhere comes Sami Zayn. He hits a Helluva Kick onto Kevin Owens. Then is trying to celebrate with the champion, trying to keep peace, telling Commander Yabba Dabba, listen, I'm all right, Yabba. Don't be dabba-ing me in the face with your Katos, all right? I'm good. I'm good, Aziz. We're good. This is cool. Like, everything's all right. Lifts the hand of the champion, celebrating the loss, but still the retention of the championship by Apollo Crews, trying to be involved there. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But Commander Yabba Dabba hits the Nigerian nail right into the throat of Sami Zayn, leaving him laying in the ring. And if they're going in the direction of some sort of a fatal 4-way, possibly maybe a ladder match of sorts for the Intercontinental Championship, featuring Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Big E, and Apollo Crews, maybe even including the in-ring debut of Commander Aziz Dabba Yabba Dabba Kato, I'm down. I'm down. That's already 5 men. If you need to throw in a 6th man, go ahead and throw in a Shinsuke Nakamura for good measure. I'd be fine with that. But as of right now, we still are on the same path of just Big E versus Apollo. But with what happened tonight, don't be surprised if it gets expanded. And that's exactly what I would do to maintain interest in all of these storylines, which are seemingly losing some steam. You add them together, you throw the title on the line, you maybe throw some hardware in there like TLC situation, or just simply a straight up ladder match. You got the makings of a great match for any pay-per-view anywhere during the year. So let's hope that that's the end game here, but I don't give them any credit to come up with anything as good as what I could come up with for you guys. So this was a good segment. It was all right. It was all right, even though during the match I was just like confused as to where it was going, but it leaves you with at least a reason to tune in to see what happens next. Because obviously Kevin Owens is going to remain involved. Sami Zayn's going to be pissed off now. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of a serious tone from him going forward. And obviously Big E's going to want another shot, straight up shot at the championship. We had a great interview in the back by Paul Heyman. He was simultaneously building up while mocking Daniel Bryan with yes chants talking about all of his accomplishments. Did Daniel Bryan do this? Yes. Did Daniel Bryan do that? Yes, yes, yes. Really built him up and put him on a pedestal. But he said, will Daniel Bryan win the championship tonight? No, he will not. It was fantastic. Paul Heyman doing what Paul Heyman does best. Really put this match over. They recapped Daniel Bryan and his ability to make history, how he did so at WrestleMania 30 by beating Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista all in the same night. Then we had to see Constable King Dickhead in a stupid hat talk about what he thought was going to happen in the Universal Championship match, and I didn't even hear what he had to say. I don't care what his thoughts were. And then with 45 minutes left in the show, we started entrances here. We got the Universal Championship match, Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. Roman got some new music, and it's not bad. So it's way better than him coming out to the Shield. He's no longer the one-man representation of the Shield in any way, shape, or form. He's his own man with his own identity, his own music, and it's not bad. So I don't know if it fits so much, but I think it'll grow on everybody. Not bad at all. I appreciate the change. It was a long time coming. I wish it was ready when he came out for WrestleMania in front of the live crowd. I think that would have been a better time to debut it, but I guess this terrible music production team that they have lately, you know, they didn't strike out with this one, but they took their sweet time and debuting it on a random SmackDown just seems a little counterproductive when it could have been done at WrestleMania, or at least hold it for the pay-per-view. But I guess this is a big-time moment, right? This is the final match of Daniel Bryan as he loses this match. Great match. 30 minutes of solid action. Multiple times where you actually thought Daniel Bryan had this match won. He ends up tapping out to a guillotine despite working Roman Reigns' arm for a majority of the match. Roman switched and did it with his left side after he always does the guillotine with the right side normally, but he couldn't use that right arm thanks to Daniel Bryan's vicious and relentless assault on it throughout the entirety of the match and choked him out using the other side. He didn't tap out. He choked out. He passed out. And Roman Reigns wins this match. Daniel Bryan is banished from the land of the blue, at least from this day forward. Is he going to end up on Monday Night Raw? I don't know if he would help Monday Night Raw, because it doesn't matter how much talent they have. It comes down to the way they write the show, and the way they write the show is like how a fifth grader makes up his own stories in pre-K for, writing. Those stories are more involved and more intellectual. In any school across the country, you'll find better writing than you get in the WWE creative team, especially on Raw. So what good is Daniel Bryan going to do there? Is he going to just transition backstage, ride out his contract, and then when it's over, go wrestle somewhere else? The possibility is very real, especially after the recent releases. You're going to start seeing some of these guys go out and prove that they could make money elsewhere and that there are other viable options. Even besides AEW, some of these guys might be going to Impact. Maybe Daniel Bryan wants to wrestle Kenny Omega. He's got a lot of great things to say about Kenny Omega. I don't agree so much. I think he's a little bit more overrated than anything else. But some people have a high opinion of him, and I think he and Daniel Bryan would be a great draw, just like he'd be a great draw versus Samoa Joe. What's next for Daniel Bryan? Nobody knows. I don't even know if Daniel Bryan knows. But what I do know is I enjoyed the shit out of this matchup, and it really made me wish that this is something they would have honed in on a long time ago. This was a great story. This was a great ride. It was the most interesting thing happening on SmackDown all year. The one thing that kept SmackDown strong was Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, the return of Edge. There was just a lot going on, and now all of that seems to have come to an end. What's next for Roman Reigns seemingly is Cesaro. He's who was set up as the next in line. Cesaro came out to try to help Daniel Bryan, as after the match, Roman Reigns would continue his assault, but Jey Uso would come out and help his cousin as he always does. They end up tying Cesaro up in the ropes so he could sit there firsthand and watch Roman Reigns deliver a concerto. Interestingly enough, talking about Edge, he uses Edge's extreme finisher of the concerto on Daniel Bryan as SmackDown goes off the air, with Cesaro watching in horror as his good friend and somebody he respects, and Daniel Bryan not only lost the Universal Championship and not only is banished from SmackDown from this day on, but is getting just annihilated by concertos delivered by Roman Reigns. And that's how SmackDown would go off the air. Next week, we have a special throwback edition of SmackDown. I don't know what that's about. They also announced Seth Rollins will be going one-on-one with Cesaro. So there's that. At least we know one match going on. I guess it should be interesting. Seth Rollins has this thing with Cesaro, and if Cesaro's going to go up against Roman Reigns and be the next person in line, he's got to get this mess with Seth Rollins over with, and the sooner the better. So hopefully this is the end of whatever they're doing with Rollins and Cesaro, so that they could focus Cesaro on a Universal Championship run. He's not going to win. I don't think anybody's going to beat Roman Reigns anytime soon, but it'll be great to see him in the main event. He's going to put on a great show with Roman, as he does with everybody he's in the ring, so I'm looking forward to the future for Cesaro. And if we have to get through one more match with Seth Rollins, hopefully it's just that one, and I'll take it. But this throwback theme is got me a little confused. What are we throwing back to? The original version of SmackDown? Are we going to get the shattered glass with the fist hanging over the entryway again? Are we going to get the old, like, oval loopy loop stage set up? Are we going to get the which version of classic SmackDown? What's going to make it a throwback edition? Are we going to come out in throwback outfits? Is John Cena going to be there? Or was he there tonight? We just couldn't see him. I'm sorry, I had to throw that one in there. Easy target, but whatever. SmackDown, thanks to that main event, was mainly an enjoyable show. The Intercontinental Championship match was a good match. It's just continued, with the DQ finish and, the wonky involvement. If it doesn't end with an interesting climax with the Fatal 4-Way or something like that, then this was pretty much all for nothing. The women's tag team division, right down the tubes for me, and the WWE's lack of focus to do anything interesting with the women was put on display right from the opening bell, as we talked about Bianca Belair being just put with her real-life husband and giving the Street Profits another push at the Dirty Dogs and having them involved with Bayley, because they don't know how to sustain a woman's feud without involving some other sort of championship, I guess. And in this case, it's one of the worst championships to involve. Not that the women's championships are any better, but the SmackDown Tag Team division is as bad as the women's division. So taking your two worst divisions and combining them doesn't make it any better. All right, but we most likely have seen the last of Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, unless they pull some kind of a weird Charlotte Flair suspension lifting type of thing. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, conspicuous by their absence tonight. All of a sudden, they're both hanging out on Raw, but nobody was there on an episode of SmackDown that had a lot of important things going down tonight. We didn't see anything with them. I'm sure we'll see it. I'm sure we'll see them back on the Retro Edition next week. Retro Edition. Special Retro Throwback Edition of SmackDown. We'll be here to bring the hammer down on that too. Maybe we'll retro this up a little bit somehow. Maybe not. Is it going to be worth it? I don't know. But you'll have to tune in to find out. Thank you all so very much for joining me here again on the SmackDown review, only on Sledgehammer TV, brought to you by us here at the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Thank you, Sledgeheads of Sledge Nation. As always, now is the time for you to do your part. Hit that subscribe button if you are not already a member of Sledge Nation. Get us over that 3,000 subscriber mark, and we can do so by hitting that subscribe button, smashing that like button, sharing this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need a place to come and vent their wrestling frustrations. We are always taking in new members, and you can vent now in the comments section down below as well. Thank you all for your continued love and support, and we will see you hopefully Monday night. They don't depress me to the point where I can't even get my ass together and get in front of this camera. But, you know, the power of the suctitude of Raw is real. It is real, and it's starting to get to me. It's starting to drain my passion for pro wrestling, and starting to affect me in ways I didn't think it would. But I'm gonna get my shit together, and we'll be here Monday to bring the hammer down once again on a 3-hour shit fest known as Monday Night Raw. We'll take a break this week, and we'll just give me a Mickey on it, will you? That's gonna do it. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team. Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, still the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, but he is no longer just a snowball. He is Blue, the Yeti microphone, new and improved and making me sound completely amazing for you guys. Nice and smooth into your earballs. You have him to thank. And the most important member of this team, as always, each and every one of you. That is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. And what do we say to the boss?
Thanks, Vince. Oh.